So what are GitHub stars? Well, I'm back in our React Complete Guide code repository. And if you look at the upper right corner of it, you can see that you have this stars, symbol here. At the moment we have 1,200 stars. And if I would click onto this, then I added a star to this repository. So I kind of added a star to our own repository, so I like our own content. I know that's something you typically don't do, but I think for the educational purposes here, this is all right. Well, stars are basically nothing else than likes, you could say, in the world of Instagram or Facebook, for example. If you see a project and you like it and you don't have to contribute to it, you just say, hey, what these people, these guys are doing here is cool, I give it a star. In the world of GitHub, a star can be added easily by any GitHub account, as you just saw it, but stars can also give you an indication about the popularity of some projects. You might want to learn a new programming language or a new framework or anything like that, and this is something that is available on GitHub and it has a lot of stars. Well, then people might think that this is cool and that this is in high demand. So if you're looking for a job, this skill might be something interesting for you. That's the theory. In practice, of course, as you saw, stars can be added easily by any GitHub account, so there is no valid proof behind any stars given here. So as I said, in the end, it's just about likes, like on social media platforms, for example. Still, I think the star is a great and easy to digest topic to finally conclude this very comprehensive module about GitHub. Therefore, in the next lecture, I would like to summarize what we learned in this module. This was a very long module and we covered a lot of very important concepts when it comes to working with GitHub. I don't want to dive into all concepts taught in this module, therefore I'll just go into 3 core categories of topics to bring these back to your mind in case you also want to revise some of the concepts we learned about in this module. Let's get started with the GitHub related topics in general, meaning topics related to GitHub's account policy and so on. There we had a look at the different account types in GitHub. We learned about the personal user account being the default account type anybody has when creating a GitHub account, but we also saw that we can turn this account into an organizational account or create organizations inside this account, and that we even have the option to create a so-called enterprise account. These enterprise options are mainly related to other pricing models and are also not relevant for basic Git and GitHub use cases. Therefore, these were not the core focus of this course. But with the personal user account and the organizational account, we saw that we have lots of options to use GitHub exactly according to our needs. We also had a look at different repository types. Mainly we looked at the difference between a private and a public repository, and we saw that both repositories have their pros and cons, but the main difference for these repositories is related to the visibility of the repository for other people, which can become important for concepts taught later in the course, for example, when we want to contribute to open source projects. We also learned about security in GitHub. We had a closer look at the personal access token, which gives us as the local Git user access to a specific GitHub account. Typically, this should be our own account, and we saw that with the personal access token alone, we reach a certain limit. Because we cannot give this token to another person we want to work on in our project. We could do this, of course, but it's definitely not the recommended approach, as this person then gets, the full control, the full access, or at least access to many areas in our GitHub account. This brought us to the second core topic, collaboration in GitHub. In there, we had a look at the concept of collaborators in general. We use the collaborator concept to add people to our project in the personal user account, which were then able to read our repositories, but also collaborate on these by pushing their commits to the repository. Besides that, we also had a look at organizations. Organizations are an alternative to the personal user account. And inside organizations, we were able to efficiently manage multiple team members. What we saw though is that managing an individual repository access, meaning write access for one repository, read access for another one, and so on, was not possible with these two collaboration types. That's why we explored the team concept in GitHub. This allowed us then to really specifically tailor the access our team members have to specific GitHub repositories. Besides that, we also had a look at contribution and project management. We learned that we can create so-called forks, so copies of a remote repository, and pull requests, which allow then us as people who are not collaborators, part of an organization, or part of a team, to even then contribute to a project by creating such a pull request, and by then requesting the owner of a repository, well, to accept our changes and to merge these into his repository. We also learned about opening issues. Issues are, well, problems that may arise when working with code of a certain open source project. We had a look at the Vue.js website, the JavaScript framework, as an example in the course. And we learned that such issues are a great way to improve the open source code and to also give a hint for other people who might want to contribute to fix such problems. In connection with these topics, we also learned about projects. Projects allowed us to structure the, approach, the flow of our different issues that we have in our current repository and made sure that we don't lose track of the current state of any issues. So are these still open? Are these in progress? Or are these done already? This is just a core overview of the concepts taught in this module though, as I said. But with this module, we now finish the core part of this course. This means you are now really able to work with Git and GitHub in your own projects and also in larger teams. You have all the tools needed to do so now. But in the next module, we still have something very interesting for you. In this course, we so far really focused on to the logic behind Git and GitHub, and we worked a lot with text files. We said that this course mainly focuses or targets developers and web developers though, and therefore in the next and final module of this course, we'll revise some of the concepts learned throughout the course as part of a real web development project, a React.js project to be more precise here. So if you want to apply all these concepts or many of these in a real world project, then see you in the next module where Max and I will show you how two collaborators can work together on a project in Git and GitHub.